This is Elizabeth, the illegal monarch, and this is me finishing high school, probably in 1956, around that time, or 7. And this is the family they dumped me in a garbage bucket can. Hellhole. Abuse you can't believe in Moulton, Alabama. Okay, JFK was part of it. His father was appointed ambassador to England in 1936. They kicked him out in 46. Joe Kennedy was the ambassador. Roosevelt appointed him to that position for what happened to my dad. Watch the years. This is Elizabeth, and she's illegal monarch. She knows all about my kidnapping, who my mom is, the double that married Wallace. Wallace Simpson married a double. This is the family who dote on the money. It's unbelievable that she's gotten away with it. She's a war criminal. Her father helped in my kidnapping. This is 1939, the year I was born, in Roosevelt. And then that's Elizabeth's mother, Elizabeth Bowes Lyon. And they've even got an article today after I've been putting this up on YouTube and Facebook. They have an article that came up in one of the papers about Elizabeth Bowes Lyon's having trouble with Churchill and something about Philip, Prince Philip, Elizabeth's husband, and my same relation to me, cousins, I hate to say. Anyway, this is a picture of me, and the rest of them were taken. You can't find them. There were some taken. This is my dad, Edward VIII, who married my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, sister to artist George O'Keefe, Madison, Wisconsin. So I've give you background. And I guess I'm showing my bed and all that. Well, this happens to be Diana here. She can get an attorney, or someone got an attorney to sue for the ring or something, but, okay, they can get attorneys, I can't. This is a double, one of them, that was used in all the bad behavior. A double imposter married Wallace Simpson. She never married my father. My father had nothing to do with her. My father was married to my mom in December, in 1936. She was Queen of England. My father and mother never divorced. They were alive in October the 20th of 86 when I came to Roanoke. I actually was allowed to see my mom. My father was still alive, and my goodness, my mom, I believe, was about 40 when I was born, my father 45, so they were up in age. I did get to see her at the library downtown. A couple weeks, I believe it was a week after so that was the last of October I saw her, about that time of 86. The double was buried at Windsor, Frogmore, 1972. At least one of them was. Now, this morning I'm watching, and they're on, I want to say this first, and I know I'm showing all my luxury, right? This is Larry Flint, who helped me in a campaign 1983, August 31st, when the KAL went down, supposedly with Larry McDonald, who was a doctor I wrote about, congressman, tried to kill me in April Fool Day of 80, among quite a few others. But Mr. Flint says I know who was responsible for his shooting, and I was writing about this after it happened, or including it in the book, March the 6th of 78. And he says that Murphy and congressman, etc., were responsible for his shooting. It was a program, MindControl shooting. Now, I want to and excuse me for this, having to jump around. My life is not easy, and I'm under the weather at the moment, to say the least. I want to put up, though, on when the news pops up, it had a article about Jacqueline Kennedy's estate in Southampton. Trying to make sure I get it right. Was up for sale, put up for sale. Well, I thought I had it written down. Now I can't find it. Yeah, it can. Here. For $30 million in East Hampton. That's just one of hers. She was very wealthy. She married Onassis and etc. Now, this has been allowed to keep going. There's another book by the, what did they say, the producer of Diana's biography. This writing another article about my father and calling him King Edward VIII, marrying Wallace Simpson, and he was a Nazi this, Nazi that. When you get into this, how dare you, they use the Nazi, you know, there's a lot to be told about all this. When they've lied about my father and mother, who were married and still alive, and now they're still, she married a double. Wallace did, the American spy. So the press is controlled by your Illuminati, so there you go. They're not, there's a blackout, obviously. The press won't print about me, and the fact my father, the real King Edward VIII, never married Wallace Simpson. Married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe. And he was married then. In 1936, when he was king, she was queen. He certainly didn't divorce my mom and abdicate to marry Wallace Simpson. She married a double the next year in 37, and the illegal George VI became king, and Elizabeth is illegal. The whole lineage are a bunch of crooks. Need handcuffed. They're war criminals. Now I wanted to get to this. It was Prince's new book by Diana. The biography reveals the Duke of Windsor was willing to deal with Hitler to win back his throne. Let me say this. My father wasn't the Duke of Windsor. I've just told that, and that's true. All of it. Diana, as well as a whole bunch of them, knew the truth about who my mom is. My dad, about destroying him with character assassination. George VI is illegal. Elizabeth, Diana, the whole brood of them are a bunch of criminals. Let's face the fact that's exactly who they are. Now, I was trying to see if there was anything else I wanted to put on here. I did want to say that the Kennedys, Lee Radzwell, sister of late First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, okay? Let me start there. Philip that married Elizabeth is cousin, and I keep saying that not because I like it, because they are. Same relation as me and Elizabeth and Philip. Mountbatten, it seems that the Mountbattens, he was Greek prince, but not familiar with all that happened in Greece, that the upheaval. But his surname, Philip's surname, was well, I'll spell it for you: Schlesweg, I believe, Holstein. I can't read my own writing. Sonderberg-Gluckeberg. So anyway, this is how, it's my understanding, if you look it up, and I put this up on video before, about a month or two, maybe 3. So I'm not going to go back and find it. It's up there. But I put some of this up. Lee Radzwell's sister to Jacqueline Kennedy, who she was sister-in-law to John F. Kennedy. She married Prince Stanislaw, Albrecht Radzwell. And then you get into the Mountbattens. And this was the Kennedy, at least one of the ways into the royal family. Now, she had a son, Anthony, and here is what I want to say about that, and maybe I should just quit because I'm not able to get it. I usually go by memory and experience, and I'm just going to tell this. I wasn't able to put it together this morning. I ran in that campaign that Larry Flint helped me in 1983, that fall. It was after then I started learning about my kidnapping, and believe me, I can remember a lot about my kidnapping. I remember they brought a portrait with them, these two men, on my dad. The thing was, they put it up, they handed me to Lionel Dempsey, and it was in the spring. And the two men had the pinstripe that looked like out of either out of the FBI, I guess, is how you'd say it. They were trim. I don't have any memory other than being taken from the castle. At night, it was dark. And it was the nursemaid. She was going down the hallways, dark, telling me to be quiet and holding me up against her. She went in, she veered off. She was going down like, okay, I want to turn this way as well. I want to turn, it would have been on the right, and went into a door that had a pantry. She went in and she lit a candle. She told me to be quiet, but she put me in a chair right by the door. So that minute, she put me there for them to get me. She was a part of it. The two men grabbed me, and I was gone. And next thing I remember was being put off at Dempsey's, and it was in the spring. So I guess they kidnapped me in the spring. And I had blonde curly hair, 2 years old. They handed me to Lionel Dempsey, who had killed her twins, Peggy and Carl, and they gave me Peggy's name. JFK helped in my kidnapping. Remember, his dad was appointed ambassador to England 1936 till they kicked him out in 46. So the Illuminati kidnapped me. And they control the press, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, Kennedys. Part of my own family, George VI, sold out his brother, my father, and helped kidnap me. And they took me to that pigsty. Now, here's what I wanted to get to. I ended up coming up here in 1986, as I said. My mom and dad were still alive. They stole his name. They even went in and tied up my Aunt Georgia's money, and Ghost Ranch and all that. Now then, I literally came to Roanoke. I didn't know I was going to, but I came to Roanoke and I was shut down. I couldn't get a job. I'd been on the side of the road. I'd had my apartment taken illegally. I almost killed April Fool Day of 80. I didn't know my real name till 83. And Lionel Dempsey, mother of the twins, didn't want my book published. Among a lot of other people, I found out the Patty Hearst family on the Atlanta Journal, and I've been running to them, and I got a letter from the FBI at Laurelwood in 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. And the manager there told me that her uncle was in charge of the Patty Hearst. Well, we had no reason. It didn't mean anything to me at the time. I didn't know my name and everything. I thought it was the book that was causing all the problem. That they were trying to, of course, it had been going on a long time ago. I was almost killed many times. April Fool's Day should have really done it. And then what happened? The Henry Kissinger got in the Watergate tapes, the 18-minute gap. Anyway, I want to get back to this if I can. Her uncle was in charge of the Patty Hearst. She happened to mention that. Well, I didn't know the Atlanta Journal was owned by the Hearst family. So I've already put part of it up. No wonder they slammed the door in my face when I went to them for help. So I guess I'm going to say this. I literally had things happen to me on a daily basis in plain sight. It's not like the family that he finished school, by the way, at Virginia Tech next to Roanoke, where I live. I just found out the man and his family who had their children padlocked and chained out in California. It's just been on the news. I forgot how many they had, children they had. They wasn't allowed to eat, etc. He finished school there. But the other thing I wanted to say, not that I don't know if that has anything to do with mind control. It's an odd situation. I'd been started out writing about mind control, and then led into finding out my real name. And so I don't know, but Virginia Tech is where the 33 people were shot by a program shooter, a South Korean student, and he was programmed to shoot himself and commit suicide. That was not that many years ago that happened. I don't know if this is in connection. I have no way of knowing if this man and his wife were programmed. It's a pretty hideous thing. You can use padlocks, and you can use paddock. His name, and I know people are going to say, oh, this is nuts, this is crazy. No, not when you get into it, if it's ever told. And there's other ways to chain you, other that are invisible, and people go after you, just like they did Mr. Paddock. And autopsy his brain, when they ought to autopsy his tooth and the rest of him, see if he's got a chip in him. Okay, I want to say this, though. The Windsors, and I'm not going to put them all in the same basket. Some of them may be trying to help me. I don't know. I know that some of my family over the years certainly have, in the British and the Germans. I'm talking about the citizens, the average people. And some of my own family, I'm sure. And I know that Anastasia was the real Anastasia up here in Charlottesville near me, and they killed her. And you'll never hear the truth about that unless, anyway. She's Romanov, Russian. Her family, royal family, were burned and murdered. Now I want to get to this. In 1994, I suppose, the spring, I was running up and down the side of the Appalachian Trail, the mountain out here in Troutville, freezing, starving. They were told not to help me, and it's cold as up there on the mountain. It's cold down here. But it was that or being on the side of the road. I've walked from here and started out and hitchhiking, trying to get back to Atlanta, trying to find my sons. And it's horrible what can happen to you, okay? You can imagine. But that's just a portion, a tiny bit of it. I was up on the mountain that spring, and it had been I didn't have money to buy sleeping bags and tent. So I did the best I could in a hiker's shack. On top of it, the wind blowing up through, freezing your back. I actually had a gallon of water that somehow I had, I guess I just skated out there on the ice to get it. It froze in the cistern, really, coming out the pipe. It was hard to get it out. Anyway, a mouse jumped in it and froze it immediately. That's how cold it was. Now, that spring, I'd had no money, but I was glad it was